Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome. We're so glad you're with us this morning. Thank you for giving of your time this morning or whenever you're watching this. If you're watching it at a later time than Sunday morning, we are live streaming. Welcome to all of you who are on with us right now at 10:30 on Sunday mornings. We're here every Sunday. We hope you continue to join us. My name is Reverend Sally Robbins, and I am the guest speaker here today, the guest minister this morning. So I'll be leading you through the service and doing the talk. And I know that each one of you, it is my intention that each one of you get exactly what you need from this morning's service. So welcome to Unity of Charlotte, where our mission is to nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. And be sure to check us out on YouTube as well. If you are seeing us on live streaming, we have a whole YouTube channel. You can find that just by going to our website, clicking on the YouTube portion, and it'll take you. You have a wide variety of talks that you can listen to and see previous editions of what we do here on Sundays. So let's start today's service by sharing our statement of oneness. So I'll forward our slide for that. Let's say it together. There is one presence and one power in my life and universe, God the good omnipotence. And so I will move us into a time of deep prayer. So I invite you to do it over this side. So I invite you, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Turn within to that magical, mystical place inside you that is in each one of us. That place of personal power, personal peace, personal oneness. That oneness with spirit, the all there is, that omnipotence we were just speaking of, that is you. It's encoded in your very DNA. And so turn to that place now that is changeless, despite whatever might be going on in your world. That part of you stays the same. It is the God self within you that knows all, sees all, and is all. And so as you get yourself quiet, free yourself of any distractions. Make sure your feet are flat on the floor, grounding yourself with this incredible universe, this planet that we populate. Oh, it is so good to dwell in the presence, to walk in the garden, to be among those of like mind, and that internal space that says you are enough. You are all there is as well. You are abundance, joy, prosperity, wisdom, courage. All of that is you right now. From this deep place of understanding, we know that we will have the answer to every question before it is even asked. This internal place that we can trust, this guide within us that is the lamp unto our feet. What a wonderful, wonderful place in which we dwell. I'm so grateful for this time, even if there is this virus among us. There is nothing that can harm us, no thing that can come between our good and us. We are safe, we are whole, we are perfect. And so I simply let go of any ideas of fear that might be talking in the back of my head. I simply let go of that which is not mine, because the God voice within me is speaking loudly and clearly You are my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. Oh, let's take a deep breath right here. And breathe in God. Breathe out God, for God is all there is. And with eternal gratitude, I simply say thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God, for the allness that is always there within me, to which I can forever turn and know the truth about who I am and whose I am. I am absolutely rooted in my spiritual strength and the knowledge that all in my world is unfolding for my highest good. And so from this place of gratitude, we simply let go. We surrender to all the good that is now flowing to us and through us. For we are simply vehicles of God on this planet. We are the mouthpiece of God. We are the hands and feet of God. And so we say thank you. Thank you, Spirit, for all that is and all that is yet to be. I let it be so. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. And so now we're going to move to our affirmation of healing. This is our May affirmation. So if you'll read it with me, hopefully those of you on the screen can see. Looks like it's a little light. But if you can't read it, just allow the words to absorb into you as I say them. With God as my guide, I am destined to thrive. Alone, I may seem powerless and lacking, but united with my Creator, my potential is limitless. I welcome divine mind into my mind and know, with God as my guide, I am destined to thrive. That's a good one. All right, just a quick announcement. We are going to be following North Carolina's recommendations on when to be open again. So be watching your email. If you are a subscriber to our email newsletter, you'll be hearing more information. We're actually going to probably be getting some feedback from you as well. So just be looking for more information right now. As of today, May 10th, we are in phase 1. Churches are still not allowed to be open at this point. Or they can with very, very limited circumstances. So we're looking at maybe a couple more weeks of this, maybe longer. We take it day by day, but we know that we're all looking forward to coming back together again and being together as community. So if you have any need of prayer, you can always reach us through our website. Go onto our website and click on the prayer button, and that goes straight to our team who will gladly, confidentially pray for you and know your highest and best. So we're here for you in that way, for sure, and take advantage of that. All right. I think that's it. Silent Unity is also another wonderful service that you can use. It's Unity's telephone prayer ministry, and you can call it 24 hours a day and just dial 800-NOW-PRAY. That's NOWPRAY, and someone will pray with you live. All right. I think I got all it in. Wonderful. So my talk today, let's move right into that. Becoming is the title of my talk today. Because I think many of us are going through a process where we are absolutely opening ourselves up to find out what is the good in this thing called coronavirus, called COVID-19. And I'm going to start by sharing a story of something that happened to me last week. I wrote for another denomination's daily guide magazine. So there was a daily guide every day of the month. I turned those in way back in December for publication for the April issue. And when last week, I got a letter from someone who was actually a little perturbed by a quote I had chosen, because every daily guide has a quote. And this is the quote that I used for that day. Most of us had been human pygmies when we might have been spiritual giants, had we dared to command God's good to manifest. And that, of course, is the late, great Catherine Ponder, who has been, she's a legend, a New Thought legend. And on her shoulders I stand, because she really paved the way many, many years ago for all of us. And I use that quote about how we can exert the law of command in our lives. I demand to see the good in my life. A gentleman took issue with that quote. And I'm going to read this to you. I'm not going to reveal names, but I'm going to read what he wrote. I'm sure you feel it a privilege to write words of encouragement for these daily guides. Your writing in today's daily guide reveals the scope of your worldview by evoking Catherine Ponder's words, human pygmies. This is such a demeaning way to make your point. First and foremost, pygmies are God's human creations. No matter their tribal customs or physical stature, they are spiritual people that we can all learn from. Such a reference shows your idea of spiritual command is deeply rooted in Western colonial philosophy on a marginalized people that have been subjugated and stigmatized by so-called imperial ideology. You should be ashamed of such references used this day and time as they reach out to the world. Do you know any pygmies? Do you know about their culture and history? Or do you care? For the law to work, we must free ourselves from our privileged blindness. And he signed his name. I must admit, when I got that email, it hit me right in the solar plexus. I was very taken aback by that, because of course that had never been my intention. And I started feeling myself getting defensive. Can you relate to that? And the defensiveness started coming up very quickly. But then I read his email again and again. And I realized that as I am in this process of becoming a wiser, more open, more surrendered person to how I can express as a God vehicle in this world, I really gave this some thought. And I realized that this was a teachable moment for me. This was a moment when I could open up and go, maybe he's got some points there. Maybe there is something that I can learn from this. I certainly don't know everything, nor do I ever want to appear that way. Because when you are becoming, you are open and you are teachable. And so I really want to be that. So this was my reply back to him that day. Hi, blank. Thank you for your thoughtful email. I appreciate your pointing out the insensitivity of my using the word pygmies in the quote. Even if Catherine Ponder used it during a time when cultural sensitivity was not what it was today, you're right that I didn't catch it when submitting the quote. I also appreciate your pointing out that even in my privileged blindness, it is my work to make sure that I'm not perpetuating an idea that anyone is less than a perfect spiritual being. I was wrong to not be more aware, and I'm grateful that your email raised my consciousness in this area. Thanks again, Sally. Within an hour, I got an email back from him. Sally, thanks for your expression of honesty and words of understanding and explaining how a simple twist in discourse can lead into an unintentional, questionable offense. Let there be peace on earth. Be safe. Now, I learned a lot from that exchange. I learned a lot about how I always want to be open and teachable, But you don't know that until you're confronted with it, right? You don't know that until you get to practice it. So I'm glad that I had someone who poked me, who prodded me a little bit. You've ever been poked and prodded? It's not that comfortable. It can even bring up shame. How could I have done that? It wasn't my intention. And I had to set all that aside. And I had to move into a place of being totally aware that my intention to be a conscious being requires that I be open and teachable at all times. Because a conscious being would never want to put any ideas of harm out there. But even if it wasn't my intention, if it's misconstrued, then it's mine to fix. And in doing that, without coming back with drama or anger or how dare you, which trust me, those things did come up, even with that, it diffused any anger that this gentleman felt when he wrote the original email. I have found that every time I am open and teachable, every time I am becoming more available to the information that's always coming to me and through me, through spirit, that is opening me up to become wiser, more compassionate, more caring, more understanding. And that's where I want to be. So even in discomfort, I can still find a way to learn. I can still find a way to be open and available to that higher self that is always wanting to express as me. Sally expressing as God on this planet. Everything I express, I want it to be love. And if it's misconstrued, then it's my turn to fix that. And when he talked about our blindness, many times we have spiritual blindness. We have a spiritual blindness even about our denomination is it. We're the bomb. And no one else has what we have. And there's a superiority and even a spiritual arrogance there that we can fall prey to. But when we are becoming and being open and teachable, we let all that go. My way's not the only way. My path isn't the only path. How dare I say that denomination can't be the perfect vehicle for that person over there? So these are the things I'd like us to be conscious of this week. How open and teachable are we in these moments? Especially when something comes that we automatically want to defend our stance, our position, our principle even. That's where the rubber meets the road. I found a wonderful reading this week. It's actually not attributed to anyone. It says author unknown, and it's called Becoming. It's a dialogue between me, or whoever wrote this as me, and God. And this is how it goes. Me, hey God. God says, hello. Me, I'm falling apart. Can you put me back together? God says, I would rather not. Why? I ask. God says, because you aren't a puzzle. But what about all the pieces of my life that are falling down onto the ground? God says, let them stay there for a while. They fell off for a reason. Take some time and decide if you need any of those pieces back. And I say, you don't understand. I'm breaking down. And God says, no, you don't understand. You are breaking through. What you are feeling are just growing pains. You are shedding the things and the people in your life that are holding you back. You aren't falling apart. You are falling into place. Relax. Take some deep breaths and allow those things that you don't need anymore to fall off of you. Quit holding on to the pieces that don't fit you anymore. Can I relate to that? Let them fall off, God says. Let them go. I say, but once I start doing that, what will be left of me? And God says, only the very best pieces of you will be left. And so, but I say, I'm scared of changing. God says, I keep telling you, you aren't changing. You are becoming. Becoming who? I ask. God says, becoming who I created you to be. A person of light and love and charity and hope and courage and joy and mercy and grace and compassion. I made you for more than the shallow pieces you've decided to adorn yourself with, that you cling to with such great greed and fear. Let those things fall off of you. I love you. Don't change. Become who I made you to be. I'm going to keep telling you this until you remember it. I say to God, there goes another piece. God says, yep, let it be. So I'm not broken, I say. God says, of course not. But you are breaking like the dawn. It's a new day. Become. Isn't that beautiful? Become. You are not changing. And I know that many of us are going through significant changes in our life on the physical realm, right? Maybe our jobs have changed or even gone away. Maybe the self-quarantine is forcing us to be in a place that feels cramped. And oh my gosh, I've said to many people this week, I just want a hug. I just want to be with people. That is such a part of who I am. It's very difficult to not have that. Very difficult. But that is not me changing. It is me becoming more conscious, more aware, hopefully more teachable, and more willing to surrender and know that things are falling off that I go, I just didn't even need that. I think most of us are actually having, for the first time, enough slowdown in our life, even if we're not slowing down, but fewer distractions. Even if we're as busy as we were, we have fewer distractions because we're not allowed to go where we were going before. And that fewer distractions is giving us the time of self-reflection and the chance for us to truly look at our conscious intentions. Our conscious intentions. That's what we're here to do. That's part of becoming. That's part of allowing Spirit to have its way with us, whatever that may be. It's a little scary sometimes, but we get to walk through it. Found a wonderful reading about William James, the philosopher, and he wrote that there are two kinds of people in this world: the once born and the twice born. I found this in the book Broken Open by Elizabeth Lesser, fabulous book. She says, once born people do not stray from the familiar territory of who they think they are and what they think is expected of them. If fate pushes them to the edge of Dante's famous dark woods, where the straight way is lost, they turn back. They don't want to learn something new from life's darker lessons. They stay with what seems safe and what is acceptable to their family and their society. Once born people may go through life and never even know what lies beyond the woods, or that there are any woods at all. I have a family member, you might have someone similar in your family, who actually, I was telling him how I was going through a growth phase in my consciousness. And I realized he wasn't understanding what I meant. And he was like, why are you doing all that self-reflection? Why are you doing all that work and going within? And I said, because I believe, like Socrates said, an unexamined life is not worth living. And he went, whoa, no, there's no way I would do that. No way do I want to go into that interior place within me. He goes, that's just way too scary. And so since then, I have not discussed my growth periods with this family member. There are some people who just don't dare to move into that place that requires deep courage and requires us to examine maybe even loss, grief, things that have been down there in the murky darkness that we just don't want to even see. That's what William James is talking about here. He says, a twice-born person pays attention when the soul pokes its head through the clouds of a half-lived life. Whether through choice or calamity, the twice-born person goes into the woods, loses the straight way, makes mistakes, suffers loss, and confronts that which needs to change within himself in order to live a more genuine and radiant life. Twice-born people trade the safety of the known for the power of the unknown. There is great power when we step into the unknown, and we absolutely dissipate that the moment we say, I'm not going there. Becoming requires us to step into a new level of being, even when we don't know what the next step is. We have to trust that internal guide that is, it may not be showing us the whole road, but it's showing us the next step. That's all we need. That's all we need. Elizabeth Lesser writes, something calls these twice-born people into the woods where the straight path vanishes and there is no turning back, only going through. This is not easy. It is very real and very difficult to face our shadow, the dragons and hags that we have spent a lifetime running away from, is perhaps the most difficult journey we will ever take. And there's where the juice is, my friends. There's where the real juice of life allows us to examine and to go, wow, it's not as dark as I thought it was going to be. It's not comfortable. It even downright stinks sometimes. That's okay. We're going to get through it. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I walk. We don't stop and build a campground there and pitch a tent. We keep walking. You and I are always moving through that valley of the shadow of death. And we, as a twice-born person, we have the courage to walk through that. Examine it. Figure out what's ours and what isn't. And we get to the other side and we're stronger and wiser for it. That's teachable. That's allowing ourselves to come into alignment with who we truly are. The pandemic is definitely, it's allowing us to become, isn't it, my friends? It's allowing us a chance for deep introspection as to what's really working in our lives and what isn't. I ran across, someone sent me a Twitter feed last week that talked about being on Zoom. Because I don't know about you, but I'm kind of done with Zoom. I'm Zoomed out. I've been doing probably 3 to 4 Zoom sessions a day. And I didn't know why I was just exhausted by the end of it. At the end of every day, I'm like, man, I am tired. And this person put out a wonderful explanation on Twitter. I'm going to read it to you. He says, I spoke to an old therapist friend today, and I finally understood why everyone's so exhausted after the video calls. It's the plausible deniability of each other's absence. Our minds are tricked into the idea of being together when our bodies feel we are not. Dissonance is exhausting. You see, we're multisensory beings, and it's not just our eyes that are taking in that there's somebody here. We're energetically exchanging information all the time. And when we only have Zoom, thank God for Zoom, we have technology where we can see people and communicate and even do business, it's still not the same. And then we wonder why our bodies at the end of the day are going, man, this is not working. It's a lot to take in. If you only do one Zoom every now and then, it's fine. But those of us who have been doing multiple sessions of this, it helped me understand so wonderfully. My goodness, I'm not going crazy by wondering why I feel so out of kink, out of alignment during this time. There is a lot happening in our lives. And so this process that we're going through is providing us a chance to deal with additional stress, additional discomfort, and change in a way that we, like every other human being on the planet, has never had to deal with. In 1980, the American Psychiatric Association added post-traumatic stress disorder in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the DSM. And since then, PTSD has received a lot of attention in the media. The truth is, I was reading this article this week, The truth is that PTSD actually happens, the real full-blown PTSD doesn't happen in very many people. That's only a small percentage develop the full-blown disorder. While on average, anywhere from 1/2 to 2/3 of trauma survivors exhibit what's known as, and I love this phrase, post-traumatic growth. So 1/2 to 2/3 of us, if we've had some sort of trauma, and I would put the pandemic in that category, we are eligible to still have as what's known as post-traumatic growth. After a crisis, most people acquire a newfound sense of purpose. In other words, they're finding meaning in what's happening, and they're understanding that there's a way that is being carved out, even though they didn't even think that they needed one before this. There's something that they are birthing into, something that is pulling them into a greater experience of God and themselves on this planet. It's not the adversity itself that leads to growth. It's how people respond to it. And this term, post-traumatic growth, was actually coined in the 1990s by two psychologists, Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun of the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, right here. They coined this term, post-traumatic growth. So people are taking the time to self-reflect. What can I learn from this? How can I become more from this experience? In study after study of tragedy and disaster, that's what resilient people do. They self-reflect. They look within themselves, what is it here that is calling me to a greater expression? That Spirit is providing an impetus, a chance for me to grow where I didn't even know that I had called forth more growth in my experience. I think we're always a choice. And we can either go into that growth kicking and screaming, I've been there, done that, or we can go, this is interesting. I wonder how this is meant to be in my path of discovery of who I am and who I am becoming as a person of God. That's the wonderful, wonderful ideas around when we are in things like coronavirus, we actually have a chance to move into a higher level of understanding, wisdom, and even caring and compassion. And I'll share about that in a second. But today is Mother's Day here in the United States. If you're watching in another country, in the United States, we celebrate the second Sunday of each May as Mother's Day. And I have to tell you, I feel this is a different kind of Mother's Day. Not just because we can't see each other, not just because we might be, I've seen already this week, people seeing their mothers through glass. They might be, in a nursing home or someplace that they can't physically go in and touch their mother. But I love this quote by Rumi, who says this. He says, every midwife knows that not until a mother's womb softens from the pain of labor will a way unfold and the infant find that opening to be born. Oh, friend, there is treasure in your heart. It is heavy with child. Listen, all the awakened ones, like trusted midwives, are saying, welcome this pain. It opens the dark passage of grace. Oh, I love Rumi. And what a wise statement. You need not to have physically bore a child. I have not done that in this lifetime. And yet I have birthed many, many, many things. Are you with me on that? You and I are constantly in the creative process of birthing. Now that could be birthing something as simple as buying a home and creating a garden. That's birthing. Or it could be birthing a child and raising that child, one of the hardest jobs on the planet. Or it could be birthing a whole new you. It could be birthing that which you came here to be, which I think is definitely one of the hardest things that we do on this planet. You and I have the gift of ourself. We have the gift of growing. the ancients called it that divine urge that is always helping us spiral upward. We're not stagnant creatures. We can stop and retard the growth, but we are not stagnant creatures. Nothing in life is stagnant, and you certainly aren't. So you have the choice of how you can move through this process. Let me give you an example as I close. A wonderful story about how people are birthing something within themselves due to the pandemic here. This is Ramadan. And Ramadan is the holy month each year observed by Muslims. And this year, because every year it falls differently depending upon when the moon is in the crescent phase, I believe. This year, it's April 23rd to May 23rd. So it just started a couple weeks ago. And the whole month is a month of fasting, prayer, reflection, and community. The fasting that each Muslim takes on begins at dawn and ends at dusk. And the whole idea behind fasting is that it takes away that distraction of having to eat so that you have time for self-reflection. And how can I be more in this world? So there's a wonderful, wonderful group in New York City, which, let's face it, New York City is one of the hardest hit areas in the entire world when it comes to the pandemic. Well, there's a man there by the name of Asad Dandia, and he is spending his days fasting from food. But he also decided during this month that he and his fellow Muslims in their mosque were going to go and do something about the plight in their neighborhood. You see, there are many people who are really desperate for food. And so he created this wonderful organization called Muslims Giving Back. Here's a picture where they load food prepared, ready to go, into these vans, and then they go out into the community. They buy gift cards from the local grocery stores because many Muslims can only eat a certain kind of meat that has been specially prepared. And so they buy gift cards from these stores, which is helping the local businesses and the local Muslim-owned businesses. And then they give out the gift cards along with this food to anyone who is in their area of New York. And they've been doing this every single day. So can you imagine? These people are fasting. They're fasting and they're preparing and giving out food. That is a beautiful idea. I'm not sure I could do that. And so I'm so inspired by this group that is giving back. Here's another, you see them on the corner there. They're just handing out food to anyone. Because previously, before the pandemic, there was quite a large portion of this neighborhood that would come to the mosques every evening for a meal, because that sometimes was the only meal that they got during the day. Well, now the mosques are closed, and they can't do that. They cannot feed their population except through this organization here, through Muslims Giving Back. So Mr. Dandia is doing a wonderful service to his community, but guess who he's doing it even more for? Himself. He's becoming compassion and courage and kindness and sharing and all those wonderful things that we all want to be. I really am inspired by this example. What are you becoming? I'd like to leave you with that idea. What are you becoming through this time of whatever it is in your life? It can be challenging. It can be difficult. It also can be a time of great peace and acceptance, and even letting go of that which no longer serves you. So I invite you this week to think about what you are becoming and how you might become more of it. How are you fitting your great plan to unfold in this world into the great design of the life that you now have? Let's take that thought within. Let's take another deep breath here. We've processed a lot. And let it go. Father, Mother, God, we're just so grateful for the opportunity to be open and teachable in these moments. To be wise and caring, because I know that every ounce of wisdom, every ounce of strength, Every ounce of courage I will ever need is already within me. I don't need to add anything more to this. It's absolutely already within, and I simply allow. I allow Spirit to have its way with me in the undoing of that which I have attached that I no longer need. And so I know that I am not breaking down. I am simply breaking through to a new horizon, a new place, going into those woods, knowing that as I do so, I may not see a path, but I will know that every footstep that I take is guarded. It is given to me before I even need to ask. The intuitive part of me always knows the way. And so I open myself up for reflection during this time of great discord in the world and fear in the world. And I let go of that. I allow it to pass through me, knowing that there is something even greater. And that is the absolute certainty that God, the changeless, is always within. And I am part of it, and it is part of me. It is who I am. It is my very DNA, and nothing, no thing can change that. And so I let go now of any old ideas. I let them be shed and leave them behind as I step into the new, knowing that I am fully clothed in the armor of God, and that any slings and arrows that come my way are simply deflected back into the nothingness from which they came. I allow. I let go. I am becoming that who I came here to be. That person, that entity, that soul that longs within me to come forth in greater expression is now absolutely showing up, ready, beaming, radiant, ready to be a part of this world, giving in service and love and kindness everywhere I go. And so I simply say thank you, Spirit, for all that we have shared this morning, all that is resonating within our hearts. I know that these words, the very vibration of the words that I put forth, have a divine incantation, and I know that they are hitting the right heart, they're in the right string, in the right place. And there is someone saying, yes, that is mine to do. Yes, I have the courage to step into the darkness. Yes, I know that I can know that the path may be, I may feel like I'm blindfolded sometimes and I can't see the path, but I know it's there. And without fear, I step into the new, the unknown, knowing that God the good is holding my hand every step of the way. So I bless our time together this morning. I say thank you, Spirit, for all that is and all that is yet to be. We are so blessed. We let it be so. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Okay. Well, I'd like you to take your phones out if you've got them handy, because this is our time where we get to give back. We talked about giving and being of service in this world. And this community, if you're receiving some spiritual sustenance, we are so blessed with our wonderful givers and those people in our community who have kept that flow going. Because as much as we would like to give Duke Energy prayers to keep the lights on, they prefer cash. So it's always nice that when we can absolutely give back and from our place of knowing that all is unfolding for us. And so I invite you, if you've got a gift, it could be a check you can send to us. You can find our address on, actually, I know I have it here somewhere. It is in here.
Next slide.
Next slide. Thank you. Thank you. There it is. Whoop. There it is right there. Arrowwood Road, Charlotte. And if you don't have time to write this down, you can find it on our website, which you see there also, unityofcharlotte.org. You can also log onto your phone right now, and there's a place that says donate. This can be very simple for you. So you can put a check in the mail, you can donate right through your phone or through your computer, whatever is easiest for you. So I invite us to come together and let's say our prosperity address together. There it is. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. Okay, we thank you. Thank you for your continued support of this wonderful ministry that is doing such good here in Charlotte. We're grateful that you are supporting all the good of us getting this out into the world. Can you imagine? People across the globe can be watching this, just like you are. So this is an important vehicle. And I personally thank you, as does I know the board here and this entire community. Thank you for your continued support. So we're going to close with our prayer of protection. And we're going to say this again together also. There we go. So let us join in saying this. Many of you know this. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. God bless you. Have a beautiful week. Namaste.